But I mean, again, how do these systems really work? So this is my kind of conspiracy detection kit. The grander the conspiracy theory, the less likely it is to be true. Like say Volkswagen cheating the emission standards in Europe. That's a very specific conspiracy theory. Turned out to be true. They really did do that, and for obvious reasons, profit motive, right? But so if you scale up from that, they're trying to control the entire European economy or something like. Well, no, that's too big.
They're just trying to make money.
They're just trying to make money, right? So, the more people that have to be involved, the more elements that have to come. People are incompetent. People can't keep their mouth shut.
For the most part.
For the most part, yes. Now, to be fair to the other side, if you read about the development of the U-2 spy plane and the AR-71 Blackbird, this was done in Burbank, near where you used to live. And that's right in the heart of L.A. How did they do this for all those years and nobody knew about it, right?
Well, they were acting on the interests of the government. They were trying to be patriots. They kept their mouth shut because they were trying to win a war against the evil others.
Right. So, again, like with the recent UAP sightings, what I want, my initial response is the SR-71 Blackbird was, before it was declassified, there were commercial pilots going, oh my God, there's something going 3,000 miles an hour, 50,000 feet above me at 30,000 feet. This is impossible. We don't have anything like that. Well, actually, we did have something like that. Yeah. So I suspect that
that's what you think
some of these UAPs, I think in a decade or two, we're going to find out, we had these incredible drones that could fly at these speeds. And
I tend to lean towards that as well sometimes. I go back and forth with it. I had Ryan Graves on recently.
I saw that.
It was a fascinating conversation because the way he was describing things with no visible means of propulsion, no technology that we currently know is available could act in the way those things were acting. I wonder if that is what it is, if they have some sort of very advanced drones. And the fact that they seem to be transmedium, they seem to be able to enter into the ocean and then leave the ocean. I wonder if that's something that we have, because these things, they're, one of the ones that he described is like a translucent circle with a black sphere inside of it.
Right.
And that when they updated their radar systems in 2014, they started seeing them all over the place on their systems. And that these people spotted them visually, and that they were behaving in a way like at 130 mile an hour winds were completely stationary. I wonder if those are super advanced drones.
Yeah, another problem with these videos is that they're very grainy, blurry. You can't quite make out what's going on. Like the one that it looks like it goes in the ocean, comes back out. It's not clear that it goes in the ocean because the horizon in the ocean is so blurry, right? So I'm a member of this Galileo project at Harvard, run by Avi Loeb, the head of the astronomy department.
I had Avi on.
Yep, I know. Yeah. And he's raising money to put cameras, high resolution cameras, all over the world, particularly in the places where people like Graves say when Graves told you, we saw these things every day, it's like every day. Yeah. There surely must be high-resolution photos of these things.
But those jets are not designed to take high-resolution video. They're designed to fight against enemy jets.
Right.
That's what they're designed for. They're designed to recognize these enemy combatants and engage with them in the most effective way possible. That's not with high-resolution digital video.
Right. Well, that would be the solution. We just need better data, right?
Well, I wonder if they want better data. Now, let's assume
we do.
The government, but listen, the federal government. Imagine they are running top secret programs using advanced drones and a technology that we're not currently aware of, right? And that the United States government has these. They wouldn't want people taking videos of these things. Why would they?
Right, but everyone has one of these in their pocket.
But you can't get digital video of something that's 7 miles away moving at the speed of sound.
Well,
you're not going to get digital video.
That's what we want to do with the Galileo project. Is
and
get
according
those cameras
to
up there.
Christopher Mellon, a guy who did work for the Defense Department, he said there are top secret videos and photographs that he's seen or that he's aware of that are pretty spectacular that they don't understand.
Right, I've heard him say that. It's like, okay, then let's see them. Well,
but why would they release that? This is the question. Is like if they, just like the Blackbird, just like the stealth bomber, many of the other projects that they have that were top secret before they became public, why would they release all that information?
Probably wouldn't. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I wonder what that stuff is. And the fact that it happens so often in that very specific area, who knows?
Another thing I was thinking about with the UAPs is in the history of technology, no nation gets very far ahead of any other nation.
Right.
They either back engineer it or copy it or steal the secrets and so on. It's not likely we would have anything that the Russians and Chinese wouldn't be pretty close to having also. Just think of just the development of jets.
Or the development of the nuclear bomb.
The nuclear bomb. I mean, the Russians had, so 1945 was Hiroshima, and 1949 the Russians, they stole our secrets, right? So this idea that, these are super advanced drones that we have and the Russians and Chinese don't have, it's not likely they would not know the technology that we know, the physics, the aerodynamics, and the engineering and all that, because they read the same journals. They do the same research we do.
So what do you think it is?
Well, I think it's probably multiple things. I think some of them might be drones that just really high-tech drones. Some of them are just blurry videos that are. I think the one of the sphere inside the cube
inside the sphere
is probably a balloon.
A balloon?
Yes.
A balloon that stands stationary at 130-mile-an-hour winds?
Appears to stand stationary.
Appears with the most sophisticated tracking devices that these military jets have.
I know. These are anomalies, so we just need better data.
But why would you think it's a balloon?
Well, what else would it be? Okay, it might be, it might be a drone. It's certainly probably not an alien spacecraft and so on.
Certainly probably not. Why do you say that?
This is kind of gets into the argument of the SETI program.
Yeah.
There's so much empty space out there. The chances of them finding us are pretty slim. I separate.
But we
two
find
questions.
Planets all the time.
Yeah, but
We are
telescopes, not visiting.
Telescopes and satellites
Right.
and all sorts of things that we send into space. But we find planets all the time that are in the Goldilocks zone. And we have very relatively unsophisticated in terms of like what we'd expect from something that's capable of intergalactic travel. Relatively simple technology in comparison to what we would think. If you took what we have today and you increased our capabilities, 1,000 years from now, you could imagine that it would be quite easy for someone to at least send a drone from another planet to visit Earth and observe.
This is the Fermi paradox.
Yes.
Yeah, that you know of. And where are they? Well, of course, most scientists like him don't think they're here. So I separate two questions. Most scientists.
Michio Kaku thinks they're here.
He's been a little fuzzy about that. He's not totally committed to that.
He's totally committed. He was here.
So?
He was here, and he talked about it on the podcast. He said for the longest time he was a skeptic.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, he has kind of come down on that side a little bit.
But why would you be firm on that? When you think about the fact that there's hundreds of billions of galaxies in the known universe.
Yes. Let's separate two questions. Are they out there? Have they come here? Are they out there? Almost certainly.
Right.
I would say 99.9% they're out there.
I would agree with you.
100 billion stars in our galaxy, 100 billion to a trillion galaxies. Just do the numbers.
Yeah.
No matter how improbable it is, you get from bacteria to big brains and civilization, it's going to happen.
Right.
But have they come here? Okay, so how good is the evidence for that? Not very. It's pretty thin, right?
How good?
It's anecdotal. It's human eyewitnesses. It's blurry videos, grainy photos. If they were here, damn it. Where's pick up the widget on the dashboard and bring it back here.
But just looking at what we know that these fighter pilots have witnessed, the data that they've acquired, when they're looking at something like Commander David Fravor, who, when they were off the coast of the Nimitz, when they tracked that thing that went from above 60,000 feet above sea level to 50 feet above sea level in less than a second. What's that?
I don't know.
Yeah, what is that thing that they have visual? They have visual contact by multiple sources, and they tracked it, and they have video of this thing moving off at insane rates of speed. What's that?
Yeah, I don't know. This is the problem with anomalies. No theory explains everything, right?
But if there was any evidence that pointed to something that operated in a way that we can't comprehend any of the known technologies being able to reproduce, that's one of them.
But no technologies come out of a vacuum like that. They always build on previous technologies.
Right, but if you're talking about something from another planet,
well, okay,
or something from another civilization that we're not aware of that's on Earth, maybe that lives in the water, we don't know. We don't know. And when you're seeing these things, when you're talking about people that are the best fighter pilots that we have available that are operating with the most sophisticated fighter jets with tracking systems that are, constantly being updated. And then when they update them, they start picking up these things, like Ryan Graves discussed on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you think that those are not possibly something from somewhere else?
It depends on how you want to pose the problem. So here's how I think about it. So I take Leslie Kean's a book on UFOs and pilots and generals go on the record and so on. In that book, she says 90 to 95% of all sightings have perfectly normal explanations.
I would probably agree that's true.
So the question is, what do we do with that other 5% of anomalies? Okay, no theory explains everything. There's always going to be anomalies in every scientific theory. What do you do with it? Nothing. You assign it to a graduate student to figure it out, or that's future research. Rather than going to a grand theory of visitation by aliens, or the Russians or Chinese have these super advanced technologies that we don't have, or we have them and they don't have. I mean, again, if we had this technology, surely the Russians have something pretty close to that. There's nothing from the videos in Ukraine of any Russian drones that act anything like these UAPs. Surely they would use this technology if they had it.
Well, we're assuming that those UAPs are military in nature and not something that they use to observe things.
Yeah, could be.
I mean, why would we assume that these things, if they're capable of behaving in this way and they're just some sort of a device that can travel at insane rates of speed, why would we assume that those things can launch missiles or act in a military capacity?
Right.
And there are UAP sightings over Ukraine.
Yeah, but so Avi did a nice paper on that, showing that these were artillery shells and not what the other people said they thought it was, that it was like a drone or a plane or something weird like that. He showed that if it was what they thought it was, it would have had a much bigger impact going through the atmosphere at that speed and burning up. But it didn't, so these are artillery shells. Anyway, he did a nice paper on that.
Interesting.
So,
but what about these things that supposedly move far faster than the speed of sound without the sonic boom?
Yeah, how is that possible?
How is that possible?
That's right, it's not.
That's where it gets weird.
That's where it gets weird, right?
But that's where
is it
the
really
question
moving?
Is it ours?
Is it really moving at that speed, or is it a misperception of the video, a miscalculation? Scientists make miscalculations of these sorts of things all the time.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was posed to David Fravor, and he said they have multiple sources of data. It's not just like one system that's monitoring these things. It's multiple systems.
Yeah. No, I follow these guys. I agree. They are incredibly credible, right? And they have good arguments. What do you do with the anomalies?
I think you're an anti-conspiracy theorist. That's what I think.
No, I'm a skeptic, Joe. I
know you are.
I'm just a,
you literally are the editor. What's your position in Skeptic Magazine?
I'm the editor-in-chief, publisher of Skeptic Magazine.
There you're literally a skeptic.
Yeah, that is my day job.
Yeah.
But it isn't that I don't believe things. I believe the theory of evolution. I think the Big Bang Theory happened when people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and my quantum physics friends tell me quantum physics is true. This is how we know it. To me, it's weird, spooky. I don't really understand it, but okay. We
crazy into UFOs. He's like one of the main celebrities they pull up when people start talking about like UFO real believers. He's done like little clips where he narrates things. UFO shows and shit. He fucking believes.
Well, didn't they just release that there's even more belief now about UFOs?
Yeah, it's fun. I don't know if it's real, but it's fun. That's how I feel.
Doug, I did a podcast with Jim Florentine, and I explained to Jim Florentine that what people don't know is that Hudson County, New Jersey, northern New Jersey, is the number one place in the country where they have the most UFO sightings.
Really? Northern New Jersey.
Look it up, Jamie, if you get a minute, please, not to be rude.
But isn't that like near a couple airports?
No, it's closer to like like when you live in New York City and you look at the Hudson River. Mm-hmm. They say that people go on their balcony, they're drinking coffee, they're talking on the phone, and they'll see a little flying saucer go by.
Really?
And I know for a fact that in 1976,
a little one,
whatever the fuck they are, I know for a fact that in 1975 and 1976, you could check me out on this. A UFO landed in Hudson County Park. I was a kid, and the next day the feds locked off the park. They had yellow tape. They had samples. Go look it up, dog. There's a UFO. You see that that's called, North Bergen is where I'm from. that's called, I forget what it's called, but it's a circular building. So they did so much coke in there in the 80s, they called it the grinder. That's what they called it, because it was shaped like the Stonehenge. The Stonehenge. I have a couple friends that lived there. People that lived in that building have seen UFOs for fucking years. And if you go to YouTube, there's an actual North Hudson Park UFO. Wow. They dug up, they came out to there's a liquor store. And the liquor store guy says he's seen the lights. Mm-hmm. You heard like the organ music, like they play. Ooh. They landed. A couple Martians got out and took samples and got back in the thing and took off. There's a YouTube thing. There's a History Channel special about it. And I still remember being a young kid.
Did you find anything, Jamie?
That was what's popping up. All that stuff about that building and.
Oh yeah, no.
Is there anything that says a UFO landed?
That's the story I'm reading right now. Is what he's saying. Yeah.
And witnesses. It's not just one guy that says I know UFO. It's people who got knocked on the door and said, did you see anything at 11, 10 at night? And they said, you know what? There were lights flashing outside. They contacted police departments to see if there was any. They went full. Then the FBI came in, circled the park. It was by the Little League field in Hudson County. But it is, like you'd think it was Area 51. You'd think it was close to northern Las Vegas. The number one place to see UFOs is northern New Jersey. They even made a reference to it in The Sopranos when he said something. He goes, "What are you talking about? Last week you said you seen a UFO in Hackensack." Because that's where they're at. Hackensack, Moonachie.
Right.
All those. You ever go to Moonachie, New Jersey? A lot of ugly people. A lot of people with big heads. The only good thing in Moonachie, New Jersey is fucking Segovia, Spanish restaurant. It's been there since 19 fucking Schlemensky. I don't know. But that's the only good thing about Moonachie. I think those people in Moonachie have been abducted. There you go. And they put them back as big-headed motherfuckers.
I did a gig there a couple times.
Oh, yeah. There used to be like a bar. There's a bar that did something in Moonachie.
Was that a Bob Gonzo gig?
Yes, outside the Seacaucus.
Was it?
Yeah, it's outside. No. I think Bob is more down the shore and stuff.
He had gigs all over.
He had gigs all over, Bob. How I met Bob was he did a gig in Romano's Italian restaurant in my hometown. And my buddy's like, "Hey, aren't you a comedian? Let's take you up there." And we went up there, and Bob's like, "I don't know him." He said, "Unknown." And next thing Bob came up to me, he's like, "Doug, I got to put you up because my friends threatened me." So Bob put me up, and we've become friends ever since.
That's awesome.
I think I follow him on Facebook. We have a chat from time to time on Facebook. But yeah, for you UFO motherfuckers, look into northern New Jersey. That's the fucking motherload of them.
That's interesting. I had read that before, but I kind of
There you go, 51.
51 UFO sightings in 2018. You get biased because the story is always some person in the woods and they get abducted, they see a UFO in some strange town in the middle of nowhere, the aliens land, abduct people. You always think about it being a rural thing. But if I was an alien, of course I'd go to New York City. Of course I'd go to New Jersey. What the fuck? Why wouldn't you? You want to go see the craziest thing we have? You got like 7 million people stuffed together on a fucking tiny island in comparison to the rest of the planet. Stuff stacked on top of each other. Awesome, amazing buildings. All these lights at Times Square. Look at all these people mulling around, traveling over these bridges to get to this one hub, this one hive of humanity. Of course, if I was an alien, I would check that out. Why would I look at a barn? You know what I mean?
You used to have a joke that the United States is the Tijuana
of outer space.
Space. Like they're like, what are we doing this weekend? We're going to fucking...
They come down when they're fucked up and they want to see a show.
They want to see a show.
That was the whole bit, is that I think aliens come here when they're high. They just get fucked up. They're like, come on, let's go check out the monkeys. Let's go, dude. Come on, let's abduct a couple of them. Have a good time. Let's go see the monkey people.
I never saw a fucking UFO.
I want to. I never have, though.
I want to see it land, and I want to see one of those green dudes get out. So I
think I thought I saw some shit when I was a kid, but as I got older, I thought that was like a fighter jet or something. That's what that was. Like there was something. God, it's a real sketchy memory. It's one of those memories that's like barely active. But I remember thinking for like a day or two when I was like a little kid, maybe I saw a UFO. But I think I was trying to convince myself of it. I was bored. But I think it was a jet. I think it was something fast and unusual. Have you ever seen one of those stealth bombers? That looks like a fucking UFO. Have you ever seen one of those things in the sky?
No, yes.
It looks like a Star Wars
like when you go to
movie.
like a Blue Angels fucking thing. Those
Yeah,
planes.
they're
that they
probably
use.
no. Those are like I think those are FA-18s. That's what I think it is. I think that's what that is. I flew in one of those. I had a bit about that too. Yeah, you got to do that. You hold on to the hand. You got to do it. You hook. You either hold on to your handle if you're steering the plane, or you hold on to your straps if you're a passenger. I was in the passenger seat, so I grabbed a hold of my straps, and you have to go like this, hoot, 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 and you have to force blood into your brain to stay awake. That's how much G-force you're going through. It's insane.
Force blood into your brain to stay awake.
See, that's one of those stealth bombers. I saw one of those in the air over, I guess it's Edwards Air Force Base. Is that what the one it is? Is Edwards the one that's out near Palmdale? I think that's it.
Yeah.
Because we used to film Fear Factor in Palmdale, and we saw that thing fly overhead like that. Look at that thing. Tell me that doesn't look like it's from another planet. When you're on the ground and you see that fly overhead, you're like, what the fuck is that? So I think that's responsible for a bunch of the things that people saw. I think it's military crafts.
Can I ask you a question on that article you pulled up, the 51 sightings? What type of sightings do you
Look
have?
at this fucking thing.
What is considered a sighting?
Well, the thing is, like, you just see shit. But how do you know if... What are you doing, Jim?
These are the sightings.
Okay, but go back to that video. Look at that thing. I mean, come on. If you're just sitting on the ground, you saw that, you're like, they're coming! The aliens are coming! That does not look like it's from this world. That thing is madness.
Especially with those two guys next to him.
God, it's fucking beautiful, though. Like, what an amazing design. That thing flying through, it looks like something on a keyboard. You know, it looks like a symbol on a keyboard. And it's just flying perfectly through the air. That looks like the future. I mean, that really does look like it's from another world. I would imagine, like, little blue dudes with black eyes and talking to each other in that thing. Going through fucking wormholes and shit. I mean, that's what that thing looks like. And what's the thing that they're going to have 100 years from now? Just imagine that.
I just want to know what the logistics is for it to be considered a legitimate sighting.
Legitimate sighting?
Legitimate sighting.
It just means that someone saw it. You know, you don't, like, if you're a lawyer, okay, and you see something, and then you convince yourself that what you saw was something extraordinary, and you have the feeling that you're looking at something from another world. But if it's just some drone or some military vehicle, and then you look at it, and then you convince yourself, then it becomes a bigger and bigger deal in your head. That's a problem with people. It doesn't mean that everybody that sees something is seeing that, but people are kind of full of shit.
Well, let's say there's a 1-800 call Martian. Mm-hmm. All right. I see a fucking thing. I call that thing.
1-800 call Martian.
Yeah, call Martian. Okay, whatever the fuck.
Okay.
1-800 Martian.
Right.
The phone won't stop ringing. Okay, the phone won't stop ringing. It will never stop ringing.
There'll be people talking to Martians.
My concern is, when do they consider it credible? What does it take for it to be credible? For me, for it to be credible, I got to see the motherfucker land, get out.
My take is usually military guys. When you have military fighter pilots, that's an extraordinary human. If you can be one of those guys that flies one of those B-2s, for them to trust you with that $1 billion fucking spaceship, dude, you got to be an exceptional human. There's no room for someone who's full of shit. You're going to be a top flight fighter pilot. You're going to fly around with gunfights in the sky, because that's what they do. They have gunfights in the fucking sky. Those guys are exceptional human beings. So when they see something, that's when I listen, for sure. Everybody else, I'm not that I wouldn't listen, but I don't know. You know, you might be crazy. But you might be crazy even if you're in the military. You might be crazy if you're a fighter pilot. It's 100% possible.
So those fighter pilots and all those Air Force pilots that do test runs or whatever, they say that they see things?
There's a bunch of sightings. Not only a bunch of sightings, there's a bunch of sightings from these really credible guys. What is this? Fleet of UFOs followed U.S. aircraft Navy pilot says.
Yeah,
May
this is what I'm
29th.
talking about.
See, these guys that are talking about these things, these aren't guys with histories of embellishing things. They have this, whatever that is. Is that radar? What are they looking at? Is that infrared? Like, what is that screen that they're looking for? Does it say what kind of image it is? Because it's like a weird look. It's not like a photograph, right? It's like a weird computer image. because it's detecting it, right, with some piece of equipment, right? Isn't it? Like tracking it on radar or something like that?
I know what you're saying because I feel like I've heard that description of it too, but this article just says it's video of 2 aerial encounters.
That's tremendous.
But that video doesn't look very clear. Why isn't it clear? My phone
They
does a
don't
better
have-
job than that shit.
They don't have very good cameras on those.
Put
Or, I
better
mean,
cameras,
they have good.
bitch.
I didn't mean they don't have good ones, but like in
Right.
order to catch movement at that high speed up there, yada yada, all that stuff.
Oh, so it would require some exceptional gear.
I think, and it could have also been at night. I don't know what time of day it was.
So convenient. So
Yeah, you
convenient
got-
that they never have a clear picture. That drives me fucking crazy. It drives me fucking crazy because if it is real, I want it to be real. Honestly, I really do. But when I look at it, I go, God damn! So many people are so crazy, and so many people are so full of shit.
You personally believe, and so do I,
Dun dun dun.
that there's other galaxies out there. There has to be.
Well, there definitely other galaxies, other civilizations.
Other civilizations.
Yeah.
Some form somewhere. Out of the 9 planets, there's got to be
Dude, there was a
something. I
Brian-
don't know what. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what they're called or whatever, but there has to be something. At this point, you have to believe that.
The universe is too big. It's just too big to discount, to say, nope, I doubt it. Like, that's so crazy to say. Just because we haven't seen it yet, it's so big.
There's the explanation.
Okay.
Of what he caught and what.
He said that though tracking equipment, radar, and infrared cameras on his aircraft detected UFOs both times, he was unable to capture them on his helmet camera. Okay.
So maybe he couldn't look at it, get it in good vision or whatever. I don't
Maybe.
know. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or that's a good reason why he.
I would imagine as fast as those goddamn things are going, it must be really hard to get a
what
camera
he
to be able
just
to
says
constantly
there?
focus in and out and
That's interesting. He says that Lieutenant Ryan Grimes,
Graves.
whatever, a squadron of UFOs followed his Navy strike group up and down the eastern coast of the U.S. for months. That's, I'm telling you, that
Yeah.
little fucking. I read something about the Hudson River, that all those people that live across the Hudson River, whether on the Weehawken and Edgewater side or the west side of Manhattan, those are where the people on their balconies see all that shit.
Look at this shit. We did have issues with them when we went to the Middle East, Lieutenant Graves said. Imagine them following the war. Imagine if they were aliens and they came down to follow the war. So they see the war going on in Iraq,
How crazy is that?
Afghanistan. They come down and they're checking it out.
Just to go on the cynical side of this, they're not necessarily saying they are an alien ship. They're saying it's a UFO, so it's something they're not sure of.
Of
What if
course.
it's some sort of awesome drone that some Middle Eastern company has and it can just follow shit or
Possible.
move faster or something? Who
Sure.
knows? I don't know.
That would be the more likely
Yeah,
explanation,
I guess.
right? Terrestrial would be more likely that someone has advanced shit. We know they have advanced shit. I mean, we know they have incredible drones. You know, I mean, the stuff that they can do.
So they got drones. That Green Berets or SEALs, you put razor blades on them, and they slit your fucking throat when you're driving.
Whoa.
That's how good the technology is on those drones.
Jesus Christ. I wouldn't be shocked if they could do all kinds of things that
You
we
could
can't
be
expect.
standing there, and they could take the drone to just come down,
Yeah.
and fucking they put razor blades on them or some shit.
Well, you could totally see someone having a small drone, like a small thing, like the size of a cheeseburger, that has poison in it, and you just slam it into somebody. I could see that. But you're seeing, when you're seeing stuff that's flying around the sky, most likely is made by a person, because people make stuff, and people know how to make stuff that flies around the sky. But then when you get to shit that like defies physics, like some of the things these fighter pilots see, that's when you got to go, wait a minute. You see these extraordinary feats of traversing distances, like they can get from one place to another place so fast it looks like they disappear. This is something they all talk about. They all talk about the insane speed at which these things can go. They can just change angles. They can just go and then take a hard right angle turn. They can do stuff that nothing that we know how to make can do. That's where it gets to be like, whoa, like nothing. It's not like it's like, oh, that's like a fighter jet, but like really fast. You know what I'm saying? It's like an alien car. Oh, it's like a car, but it's way faster. Like, it's an alien car. But this is not like anything that we make. These fucking things, they fly this way, they say, flat, like a like a plate hovering over the ground, but when they go to fly, when they go to take off, they flip up sideways. And they have like the bottom of the spaceship is pointing towards where it wants to go. And it does something to space and time, make some sort of fucking magnetic gravity connection, insert big spooky words, whatever. They don't know how the fuck it does it, right? This thing can go like insane distances in insanely small amounts of time. Then when they all report the same kind of behavior of these, I mean, so many of these reports are like that. They're talking about this thing that goes insanely fast, turns on its side. It looks like a Tic Tac. It looks like a saucer. It looks like they're trying to figure out what the fuck the shape is because it's moving so goddamn fast. But it's doing stuff that nothing we know how to make can do. I don't know if it's from another planet. It might be from here, but it's exciting. It's exciting shit. I want it to be from another planet. That's what I want, like unbiased, like what I would love it. Just be completely honest. I would love it if it was aliens. But if it was people, I'd be even more scared because like, goddamn, people can do that. People can do that, and no one knew. Like if you can imagine a person who can make a spaceship that defies all of the rules that we know about travel, about air travel. If they can make something that defies all that shit and somehow or another keep the whole development and production of it a secret and then have this thing and take it off and no one knows how the fuck they did it, that's almost more impressive than aliens. Because that's what these things are doing is if these pilots are accurately reading what's happening and they're telling the truth, the thing that's remarkable is their stories are very consistent. There's a lot of very similar stories from different people that they make a living flying super fast warships. You know, they see things. They know what the fuck they're looking at. They see something they don't know. They're like, what in the fuck is that? When they see something like that, that freaks me out. That's when it gets me. Because when some fucking kid's riding his bike to school and he looks up and he sees a UFO, okay, maybe it did happen. Maybe it did happen. Maybe the kid's being 100% honest. Or maybe he was bored. Maybe he was bored and decided to make up a crazy story and stuck with it. And then after a while telling it, maybe he believed it himself. That happens too. People see things. They don't know what they're seeing and they decide that it's a different thing. I've said this before, but it's a true story. When I was in Alberta, there's wolves there. And I thought I saw a wolf for like a whole second. It was a squirrel. It was a fucking squirrel. But I saw gray fur movement wolf squirrel. Like if you're dumb or if you're compromised or if maybe you're a little drunk, maybe you're a little tired, you know, maybe you just saw something that looked really weird because of, you know, whatever weather conditions that are affecting some part of the world you live in. There's things called ball lightning, flies through the air. You know, it looks like a UFO. You ever see that shit? It's like a real natural phenomenon. Somebody might see something like that and then add a bunch of other shit to it. And that's where you get a lot of these stories. You get like natural phenomenon and then people adding a bunch of shit to things. But then on top of that, you have credible stories. And you can't throw out any of them. Like it's when you look at all these things, you can't decide just because there's a bunch of crackpot stories about UFOs that the ones by legitimate fighter pilots, that those aren't real. You can't look at it that way. It's crazy to look at it that way because it's more likely there's something out there than there isn't something out there. It's way more likely.
When I was a kid and that happened in Hudson County Park, I wrote it off. I didn't even pay attention. I remember riding my bike up there, seeing the Fed tape and seeing people with those orange protective suits on.
Yeah.
And I was like, these people are fucking out of my mind. Then one night I got high 5 or 6 years ago and I saw it. And somebody had posted on Facebook or YouTube. And I read more and more into it. And I discounted it until I read the accounts of the 28 people.
Yeah.
In that building, the liquor store, there was a guy who had just got dropped off a bus from New York. Because buses drop you off there from New York. Mm-hmm. The bus driver said there was a flash. He couldn't, you know, there were just so many people with stories that, you know, they didn't see a fucking guy get out. Only 3 people saw people get out. Mm. Everybody else discounted the lights and the noise and the other bullshit that went with it. I would have shit my fucking pants if I lived in that building and saw 3 little Martians get out. Or It could just be fucking. Who knows? Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, man.
I just wanted to tell you that's where
people can get freaked out, and they can, they can think all kinds of things that didn't really happen.
Hey, one night I was on acid. I thought it was I thought the FBI was out there with dogs. When I went out the next day, it was fucking a fire hydrant, all right? I dumped an ounce of coke down the toilet.
Oh, my God.
Because I hallucinated. Because when you're doing coke for more than fucking 10 hours, you start hallucinating. I started hallucinating. I thought it was fucking dogs and it was a fire hydrant. You know how stupid I felt the next day? Pretty fucking stupid. Pretty fucking stupid. I sat there and I went over and petted the hydrant. You fuck. You fuck.
This is a problem with any story, like all these fucking UFO stories. It's people's memory. Memory's not that good. It's just not that good. It's too hard to figure out what it actually looked like after you saw it. Like you see something crazy like a year ago, and then you try to describe it. It's too hard to describe. Like you barely remember it. Your version of it is a rehashed version that you keep repeating to yourself. If you saw something, like say if you were hiking and you saw a wolf, right? If you saw that wolf, when you try to describe that moment you saw that wolf years later, like what are you actually seeing when you're going into your memory? How accurate is it? We're always lying about how accurate our memory is. It's not that good. Like if you did see a wolf, which is an extraordinary moment, right? You're in the fucking forest. You're like, it's a fucking wolf. That's a wolf. And you see a real wolf looking down on you, a wild motherfucker in the woods of Canada, just looking at you, staring at you on a trail. Like that's an extraordinary moment. But if you try to recount that in your mind 10 years later, what do you actually see? How much do you actually see? You see this blurry, weird, fucking misty version, and you've got some words that fall into place that can describe it. But how accurate is your fucking memory? It's terrible.
How accurate is your memory?
It's good with statistics.
Okay.
Like I can tell you about fights. I can tell you what year someone fought. I can tell you how this guy won and how he beat this many guys with a triangle, and I remember things. But if I actually have to remember what it actually looked like in my head, I can't really pull that up. I barely can pull it up. I see it, I'll recognize it again. Like you show me Joe Schilling knocking out Melvin Manhoef in Bellator. I watched that KO so many times. A wild, crazy slugfest. And if I see it, I'm watching it happen in a video. I remember it. Yep, this is how it goes. Here it goes. Boom! He KOs him. But if I had to just pull that out of my brain right now, it's not good. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if I have to close my eyes and pretend I saw Mike Tyson knock out Michael Spinks, I kind of can see little flashes. I can kind of remember weird little parts of it. I remember the final right hand. Boom! He just sends him flying through the ropes. It was chaos. It was just like he's the best ever. But if I had to play it back in my head, it wouldn't be nearly as good as a video of it. It's way more fascinating when someone like you talks about it versus some fucking random kook. That's what makes me incredibly interested is your credibility and the fact that this is not, you don't have a history of seeing wacky shit that other people don't see.
No, just this once.
But it's on video, and that there's other ones as well. It's really strange. And I've seen people try to explain it away, and what I don't like about when they explain it away or attempt to explain it away is that they're trying really hard. They're not going, who knows what this fucking thing is? They're not looking at it cleanly. They're looking at it like a quote-unquote skeptic. I don't like the idea of being a skeptic. Not that I don't think you should be skeptical of certain things. I certainly think you should be. But there's a lot of people that brand themselves as skeptics. And I think it's a lazy way to look at things. I really do. Because I think you're just looking for the holes in things without looking at it objectively. If you wanted to be a scientist, if you wanted to be someone who is a fan of science, then you have to look at it as a thing. Look at this information and let's study this without any bias, any preconceived notions. I don't think they're doing that. They're looking at it and they're trying to find a way where they can justify that it's fake. And they're just doing all sorts of mental gymnastics to try to make it fake. That video that you show where that thing slips off to the left and takes off at incredible rates of speed, that alone should freak people the fuck out.
Yeah, well, I think because people confuse all the time, like we took the video. No, it was another crew that took the video. We watched it for 5 minutes with our eyeballs, and there was 4 of us, and we all have the same story. We all saw the same stuff. We all came back and looked at each other and scratched our head and said, WTF, serious? What was that? And then what do? You move on. We never saw it again. I imagine they probably saw him on radar after that, but I think
they're probably seeing him on radar all the time. They just don't bring it to the attention of the general public.
Oh yeah, because if you don't, for a ship when they see something and you go, what is that? Well, you don't have any way to go out there and look at it.
Like when you're talking about how they were informing you that they were seeing these things previous to your mission. When you're doing this exercise and they let you know that they're seeing these things, did you say, hey, how frequent is this? Is this something that happens all the time?
I didn't get into that. Ours was more of the moment of, when he's telling us, hey, for the last 2 weeks we've been tracking these things.
Right.
And we don't know what they are.
But you don't know whether or not it was just those 2 weeks or maybe it was a year ago. There was other similar situations or...
There's other situations that have happened out there, but I would say, for this, I don't even know. One, you got to take it serious. Yeah. We have a tendency, if we don't know what it is, if we just ignore it, it'll go away. And I joke, there was an incident it's probably not too far off the same time frame, where I think it was the Constellation was doing her workups before she got decommissioned, and an a Soviet Oscar-class submarine surfaced behind her, right? And then it's like, go to battle stations, World War III. How did this foreign submarine get in our area and has been monitoring our workups? That's a big deal.
Right.
I said, but now we go out and we have these things that are coming at will, and there's nothing we can do about it. We don't know what they are. We have confirmed sighting by 2 aircrew, 4 of us, 2 planes, that said, look, this is not an airplane. This is not a weather balloon. This is not a blip. It has performance well beyond, and the airplanes that we were flying at the time were literally brand new Super Hornets right out of the Boeing factory. I mean, these were brand new, first Block 2 series that came out. And you go, why wasn't something done? It's like, we don't know what it is. I think it's good now, the moves that have happened over the last, 2 years since the original article came out that, there's a new reporting for the pilots. The Navy's acknowledged, hey, these things, we don't know what they were. They're starting to take it serious because, I know there are other events that are not out, recent events where people have been called in to go, hey, I've seen this thing. So the investigation process is still going on. We don't stop. The military doesn't stop. Even if you take funding away, we don't stop. We don't stop until we're told to stop. So, what's going on? You go, well, ATIP ended. They spent $4.5 million a year on it. I think it was $22 million over the 5 years. So you go, what are they doing since then? Well, I'm pretty sure there's still people looking at this, and there's still people that are taking this serious. I will tell you that I won't get into specifics, but there are people inside the United States government that are taking this serious. And I've been down to D.C. twice to talk to folks, behind closed doors to go because they want to hear the story. And I've got a lot of, you got to be joking. I mean, this seriously happened, and I'm like, yeah, it did happen, and it is real. What are you doing about it?
So, what kind of people are you talking to?
High-level government officials is what I'll say. And most of that is because that conversation is between me and them, and I don't want people speculating, but you can say high-level government officials I have talked to.
Well, that was always the speculation about, what would someone do if they became president? Well, the first thing I would do is I would tell everybody about the UFOs. I would ask immediately what's going on. And I always thought about it. I said, how many people actually know what's going on? And how much of the information? I mean, it's not like... If they're dealing with something like this, like your experience, it seems like what you described is what is known. So it's this anomalous event where this thing defies our current understanding of technology, and then it's gone.
Yes.
And so what do you have? You don't have anything else other than that. What other information does anybody have?
Well, I would say this because I've talked to Bob. We did
Bob Lazar?
Yeah, we did an event together. And I'll leave it to everyone it's up to you to believe Bob. I'll say this. Bob's a normal guy. Bob's not crazy.
He's not crazy at all?
Not at all.
That was the weirdest thing about talking to him.
But when you look at it and go, because I had asked Bob, I said, what he describes in the technology when he talks about his story, I said, well, do you honestly think we could, reverse engineer it? I said, how long do you think it would take us? And his response to me was another 100 years. He goes, Dave, it was so far beyond. He goes, the stuff that he says he worked on. He's like, he was on your podcast because I watched it. Hey, there was no wires, and because I had asked him when he said you first described the ship that he got to see, he said, I used to say, they built it and then it was like wax and you'd heat it up. He goes, now I would say it was built with 3D printing because now with 3D printing we can build things literally from the ground up and it's basically built as one, not panels, no rivets, it's just made.
Right.
And so when you talk about that and you go, well, it's still another 100 years. So you go, well, what if you had the technology? We still, if what Bob says is correct, we still don't understand it. And how fast would it take us to understand that? I mean, if it's driven by something that we don't even have on Earth, which is when he talks about that element, we can't create it. We can create it for a microsecond, and then it decays, and we go,
Element
okay,
115.
Yeah. So, I think we're still a long ways off. I'll argue with the people that go, are we really alone? I was telling Jeremy we used to go out on goggles. Out in the middle of the Pacific, there's no light pollution.
Goggles?
Night vision goggles, so we can see. Well, you go out at night, I'd be on like a tanker hop or something, just hanging out, not doing anything, driving around in circles with the autopilot on. You just turn all the lights down in the cockpit so you have no light pollution, and you just roll your head back and look up. There's billions and billions and billions of stars out there. And, I always look up because I'm like, are we alone? And I look up and go, well, if we're the only ones around, and everything I'm looking at, it's a pretty sad place. It's a pretty lonely universe. I asked my astrophysics prof that once. I said, you believe in extraterrestrial life? And she's like, of course not. And I said, well, there's billions and billions of planets. You think we're it? I mean, just the probability of it is you'd go, oh, there's probably something else out there, and I'm not crazy. I'm just opening up the possibility that we are not the only planet that has life on it.
I think people don't like to seem silly. They don't like to be foolish. And I think when people start talking about anything that's not proven or anything that's connected to a bunch of loony people that are making up stories, which UFOs certainly are.
Yes.
UFOs are connected to so many people that have made up so many stories. What was that gentleman's name from, you would know that guy, he was from another country, Billy something or another.
Oh, Billy Meyer.
Billy Meyer.
Myers, yeah.
Seems 100% full of shit.
Correct? Yeah, he's proven
Yeah.
to have done tons of hoaxes with this, but here's the deal. Sometimes I think people have a real experience, and they're always like chasing that dragon, and they get UFO disease, and the brain goes fucking berserk, right? I know that there are people that have had profound experiences, and then they can't ever replicate them, so then they just start going crazy. And I don't blame them for it. But you got someone like Commander Fravor, when he saw that AAV, anomalous aerospace vehicle, his reaction was, I want to fly it. That's a pretty cool reaction. I'd like to fly it.
Yeah, imagine flying that thing.
Well, that's what I told my buddy, he was my XO at the time, Dell. I got back after all this happened. He looks at me, and we're just standing in the ready room, and he goes, hey, dude. I go, what? He goes, what do you think it is? I go, I have no idea, but it was pretty freaking impressive, and I'd like to fly it.
Of course.
And he goes, yeah. I go, I mean, it was, it's just like any pilot. You always want to fly the coolest thing.
Of course. Yeah, of course. You're a race car driver. You want to drive the fastest car.
That's it. And now you look at it and go, well, that's something we don't have.
Yeah.
This idea that, maybe we're not alone, that some of these other stars have planets that are maybe technologically advanced. So the next thing people say, and, new eras are going to say, well, they're not coming here because the distance is so vast. Hold the fuck up. From the very beginning, when Bob Lazar came forward and talked about field propulsion, gravity propulsion, distance becomes completely irrelevant. So if we believe, and the radars are right, and Commander Fravor saw this thing moving like a ping pong ball in a glass of water, it's gravity propelled, that's why you can make those maneuvers without exploding, okay? Then distance becomes completely irrelevant for travel. You're literally warping time and space. You're falling into place.
Well, it's like the idea of showing someone a video on your phone long before video was ever invented. People would be like, what are you talking about? Like before photography was invented, which is shockingly recent, right? You had to draw pictures of things you saw. Just like those people that drew or painted those images of those men and whatever those things were with Christ in the background. the idea that we could understand what some insanely impressive technology from a planet that is nowhere near us could manifest. It's nuts.
Yeah, Bob Lazar talks a lot about this. Remember, he's a young guy, right? In 1989, he gets shown something. And all of a sudden, he's trying to interpret it through 1989 technology. So he said it looks like it was injection molded because that's what he had. And then I sent him this thing about nanotechnology and working towards an atomic printer. He's like, dude, that makes a lot more sense. So he has to view it through where he saw it in 1989. However, I will say this. It is my knowledge that we understand exactly how these craft work. Our one limiting factor is our material science. We can't replicate, not the fuel source itself is another.
When you say we know exactly how they work.
Yeah, it doesn't break our laws of physics. This concept of amplification of gravity, this concept of gravity propulsion, we understand how things can move from point A to point B almost instantaneously. Our physics doesn't disallow it, but our material science and the fuel to create that machine that we have machines from other places. So we
what
have.
Do you mean?
Well, Bob Lazar, whether you believe him or not, there was a program. I have other witnesses that I will be bringing forward about S4, where he worked. We have craft.
You have other witnesses that worked with alongside
No, people
Bob?
that corroborate Bob's account in that they saw him get on and off the red and whites, the Janet flights that come on. Somebody that went to Papoose Lake and was stopped by non-military guards at that time, people that were aware of Site 4 and ET exploitation projects. One is an SR-71 pilot that I've been talking with for a couple years. So these people are coming forward now, and it's like I'm sick and tired of doing it, these little nitpicky things about Bob. Okay, there was a program. There was a back engineering program. They've admitted there are materials. So this is like the metamaterials you heard about in the New York Times, all that. We have materials associated with UFOs that are interesting.
What is that? What are you talking about?
So this was something that was launched in the first New York Times article, I believe in December of 2017, that there is studies being done right now on materials associated with UFOs, right? So actual metals that have come off of, you could say, crashes or
Now, who is that explained that there was something, they were with Eric Weinstein, that was explaining that there was someone who reportedly has something along those lines?
Jacques Vallée has 17 samples.
17 samples. How does one guy get 17 samples?
Well, he's Jacques fucking Vallée, right? So he's the guy first ever for the United States military created a computer program for the study of UFOs for Project Blue Book. So he's an old school guy. They modeled him after in the Close Encounters movie. It's modeled after Jacques Vallée, the French guy. So he's kind of like been involved with this. He's had more access to government databases than any of us. He went around, collected samples from known, crashes or like when things will come off.
And what's the conclusion?
Well, they're studying them right now. There was just something on Fox about it. They're studying some of these materials and what they will find, because the ones they're talking about, I actually took to New Mexico and had 5 scientists study it about 5 years ago. I got my hands on it, got to study it. The famous parts they're talking about now. It's layered. And the way it's layered is what they're trying to see if it's anomalous elementally, or the way that the elements are bound together, and also the atomic level of layering is what's interesting. We'll find out if it's
explain what you're talking about. What is this thing that you saw?
Okay, well, there are a lot of different samples, but when you get a sample of something and you can see
how big are these samples?
The ones that I looked at,
Yes.
they ranged from about this size down.
Audio.
They ranged from the size
of an orange.
Yeah, size of an orange to the size of a quarter. These are materials, right?
And are they materials from a crash?
So that's allegedly, or there's a known crash. This is in the public domain rather than government controlled. So what I was looking at, or having the scientists look at, is isotopically and elementally. What are the elements that are in this? Are they engineered?
And what's the conclusion?
Well, I'm not. I'm going to leave it to the people that are doing it now, who have much better machines than I had access
Do you know
to.
any cliff notes?
Yeah, from what I understand, there's atomic layering. There are levels of, like we do with graphene. We lay down these layers that are basically oriented at a certain degree. That's how you get a superconductor or something like that. If you take a piece of graphene and it's highly machined, so it's doesn't deviate from that atomic layering. You can push it right through ice like a hot knife through butter. It's the weirdest feeling in the world because you just take this piece of what feels like graphene and it just goes right through butter because it's a superconductor, and the heat from your hand melts the ice. So that is a metamaterial. It doesn't occur naturally. Humans created it, and it has special properties because of the way it's atomically layered. So if these materials are from somewhere else, then we suspect that they're going to be highly machined, that they're going to be created for special use. So my whole point is our material science has not caught up with the physics that we understand for these field propulsion systems. I'm just telling you, believe me or not, but you'll hear more about it, that our material science in 1989 and today is our limiting factor. And as our material science gets better as humans, we know how these things work. Now, the fuel source, that's a whole nother conversation. But as far as creating these machines, that's what we're trying to do. That's why there is secrecy. We're trying to exploit the technology because whoever exploits it first wins. It's a game changer. We don't want Russia to do it. We don't want China to do it. If we had a non-reactionary propulsion system, the world would look different instantaneously.
What do you think of all this Pentagon UFO, we've recovered crafts, not of this world talk?
Okay, yeah, I think two things, I think, again, can always be true at the same time. I don't think we're the only intelligent life out there. I mean, I'm classifying us as intelligent. But I also don't think we're hiding some alien spacecraft somewhere.
So why do you think the Pentagon would come out and say something like that?
Well, I think, look, we did here comes a pitch for my show. For Black Files
what show is
Declassified.
this?
That's Black Files Declassified.
Black Files Declassified? And how could one watch this show?
My God, that was a good first season, wasn't it? It was on Discovery, on Science Channel.
Ah, I love Discovery. I love the Science Channel.
We did an episode on Advanced Aeronautic Threat and Identification Program, ATIP, which was the Pentagon's admitted, came out and said, yes, we have a program, that we ran a program. It's no longer in existence, called ATIP, which was designed to identify unidentified aviation threats, basically. So it's not talking about UFOs necessarily. It could be a hostile, prototype aircraft that, what is that?
I talked to Commander Fravor.
Yeah,
He's
you
the
go,
one.
David Fravor.
Yeah, David was in here,
Yeah.
and he explained his incident off of the coast of San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And he said they tracked this thing. It dropped from 60,000 feet to 1 foot above the sea in a second.
Yeah. And it wasn't just him seeing this, right? It was the radar operators on board and his wingmen.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but I think
They said it was tracking them, and then it actually actively blocked their tracking.
and then no visible means of propulsion.
Exactly. No heat signal.
Yeah. I mean, so I think look, and he's a very credible
He's as credible
witness.
as it gets.
Yeah. Right. And so.
He's not the only one.
Yeah, not everything. I mean, but
What do you think of that?
yeah. Well, I think. I think we don't. Well, here's what I think. I think we haven't resolved that issue. We don't know. There was no final report that gave some sort of conclusive evidence that said this is what this this object was. It is considered still to this day to be an anomaly, perhaps, of, they just no clarification, which is interesting in all by itself. And again, kind of goes back to this, look, are we the only intelligent people? No. But do I think that the government is capable all these years of holding a secret like that? No, I really don't. I think there's much like with MK Ultra or anything else like it, eventually shit hits the fan, stuff comes out. And I don't think I'm not one of those, and I say this, and I'm sure a lot of people disagree, but I just don't think that the government's capable of keeping secrets for the long term, certainly not of this magnitude. But I think there are certainly things that have happened that we can't explain. And
What do you think
one of them
that
would be
is?
the sighting by Fravor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but materials that aren't from Earth. Look, shit hits the Earth from space all the time, and that qualifies as a material that is not found.
That's not what they said, though.
Right. Well,
They said they've recovered crafts not from this world.
yeah, I I would want to sit down with the individual saying that and say, okay, clarify this, please.
I'd want to take him to one of them brothels.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, absolutely. I sit there with a
Dose 'em
martini
up.
behind that mirror. It's like, okay.
Hey, man,
Yeah.
tell me what you really saw.
There you go. Bring one of those hookers in from the 60s. But no,
Don't do that to her or him.
No.
I
But
would want to know though what is actually happening, and why would they come out with a statement like that?
well, I'm going to tell you something. This between you and me is second season of Black Files Declassified. We're going to be looking at that.
Why do you think?
I don't know what that's the big question is why would they say that?
Right.
And I don't have an answer for that. I don't know, and that's why I say
It's a shocker.
it definitely bears further investigation. That goes without saying.
If there was a
But-
thing that was coming, they would want to prepare people. And I think if you wanted to prepare people, the best way to prepare people is to slowly give them signs that some shit is about to go down. And one of the best ways is to say, we have found things that are not of this world. Okay, think about that for a little while. We'll see you in a few months. A few months of accepting that without any. See, there's no event, right? It's
Yeah.
just a statement.
What was the exact wording?
Let's
Can
find
we
out.
bring that up? Yeah, the exact
Jamie will pull it
wording
up.
of
Here it is.
yeah.
Crashes. Harry Reid said he believed crashes of vehicles from other worlds had occurred, and that retrieved materials had been studied secretly for decades.
Yeah.
Now, you know Bob Lazar. Do you know the story of Bob Lazar? Bob
Yeah.
Lazar was in here, and he said some things that were ridiculed, but turned out to be absolutely true. One of the things that he said was that there was this element 115, and that they had figured out a way to stabilize this element in these other planets, and that's what they used to propel these vehicles with a different kind of propulsion that manipulated gravity. And it essentially had created some sort of a warp where they weren't subject to the same laws of physics
Right.
with this propulsion system that we are with what we have, which is just igniting fuel and pushing the explosion pushes the rocket into space.
Which could explain sort of the Fravor sighting.
Yeah, I mean, and the way he
yeah.
described these vehicles in the 1980s and the early 1990s is exactly the way Fravor's vehicle worked. Exactly the way the gimbal video worked. These things, for whatever reason, they fly one way and then they turn sideways. Like if you had a plate, the plate turns up and down, and then that's the way it travels. And then somehow or another, that's how it travels insanely fast. That it does something to manipulate gravity around it.
Yeah.
It sounds super weird, but the fact that this guy talked about this in the early 90s, and then this is the exact video that the Pentagon refers to, that you actually see these objects that they can't explain, that don't give off a heat signal, that move in this exact same way at spectacular rates of speed. And then that's how the TikTok craft worked too.
Right. Well, I mean, there's a leap there necessarily
Right.
that you got to make.
I don't want to make that leap either. I know
yeah.
what you're saying. Like
Yeah.
for years, I was like, it's all horseshit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. Again, not saying it couldn't happen. I'm just saying there's certain parts of this, like okay, Harry Reid talking about it. Well, look, Harry Reid was he was very interested in this stuff. He allocated some federal funds to one of his buddies in Nevada to create a sort of a center for examining this and for developing space exploration capabilities. So Harry Reid is certainly interested in this. I talked to Lou Elizondo, who ran ATIP, right? And you don't really get that answer when you say, okay, Lou, was ATIP holding on to materials, that came from a alien craft? No.
Right,
what they're
but
saying
maybe
is
it was an ATIP that was involved in that.
maybe it was an
aspect of
ATIP.
the-
Yeah. No, that's that. Okay. Yeah, I get that. And again, I guess what I'm saying is I'm open to say, yeah, fine. Look, anything's possible. I suppose in this world, things that I do know is I have a really hard time believing the government could keep this all buttoned up over a period of time.
But isn't there a genuine ridicule factor for coming
sure.
forward? that
Sure.
would help? I mean, that's a part of the whole things about all the UFO stories. They're so ridiculous.
Well, and that's why, that's why they set up ATIP to begin with, right? Was so, that they could have sort of a legitimate outlet and a place for this to go. But yeah, Fravor himself talks about it. Look, it's not in their best interest to get back on the carrier and say, by the way, we spotted a unidentified flying object.
Yeah.
But they did, and yeah, and you're right. So that's the natural tendency is to kind of look the other way or roll your eyes, and that can act as a deterrent. Yeah, I don't know. But I do think that it bears further investigation. There's no doubt about that. And I think that the ATIP program that the Pentagon was running, for the minimal cost of that compared to the cost of another air asset or a platform of some sort, I think they should have kept it going, right? And they should have normalized to some degree, because it's in our national security interest to know. Have the Russians or have others developed materials, right, or propulsions? Everybody's working on new propulsion systems, right? Everybody that has the ability and the resources. So hypersonic craft, that's just coming, right? That's going to happen, and whoever wins that particular race is going to be further up the food chain than everybody else. So it's in our national interest to be exploring any legitimate or potentially legitimate sighting, to understand what that is. That doesn't mean you're chasing UFOs or sort of spacecraft from it just means you should know what the hell that is or what's out there. So I'm a big proponent of that. I'm just saying also you have to proceed with caution.